Alright, Jeff, Aaron here with some notes on your chipping practice that we did to start our day yesterday. On the left is your first video that I recorded, and on the right is you getting into this different setup that I've proposed for you to do. So I'll put that down or back at the beginning. And in this left video, we talked a little bit about your chipping before you hit a shot, and you said that you know, Aaron, I just don't get the shaft of the club leaning forward enough, and I hit it fat, and I hit it a little bit thin, and so I was interested to see what this would look like, and I'll just run through this really quickly, but take it back here and bring you back to impact. And we'll see that the shaft is leaning plenty forward, and your wrist angles are intact, and there's almost zero sign of any flip or scoop or club head passing the hands, which you had talked about. So you know, the question is, why are you still hitting some of these fat and thin? And the reason that I believe that to be true is the way you're setting up to the ball. So we have your setup here with the handle really pushed far forward, okay? And as you push the handle really forward and your hips really forward, you probably at least 75% on your front leg here. We start to get our shoulders tilting back this direction, and your spine, you know, this isn't going to be an exact line, but we'll go from the buttons on your shirt to the let's say to where your belt buckle would be, somewhere in there. We start to tilt these things to back. So I'm looking at the sternum area for you here, and I could see a problem with the way you set up, trying to push these hands so far forward that you might actually back your sternum up and kind of hit behind these golf balls if you're not careful. I would see that would be your tendency to do that. So what we did, and by the way, you hit these chip shots all very solidly, but there's a couple that clunked in there, I guess, but we decided to go and start you very neutral, so feel like you're 50-50 on your feet and your shoulders and sternum right in the middle of your stance. And then I wanted you to tip so that your left shoulder felt lower, or even for you to reach down with your left hand and touch your left knee to feel that your shoulders are very level, or your left shoulder is even down more. And it's okay for them to be open a little bit in this situation too. So that was the first thing. The next thing we did was made sure that the golf ball is not too far back in your stance. And then also I didn't want the handle of the club pushed quite as far forward on some of these chip shots. Let me get a line in here. So I like the way that this looks as far as the amount of lean at address. Probably put your hands just to the inside of your thigh instead of pushed almost outside of your thigh, which they are here. Okay, so this is just for a basic motion chip shot. Your feet are a little wider on the right. That's okay. This was just a practice setup. So you'll see that if we measure down from your shirt here, or your buttons to your belt buckle area, how we have a little bit of tilt towards the target actually. So if you can imagine that you set up 50-50 like this, and then all I did was come in and push your shoulders so that your overall weight profile, because of your sternum and your upper body moving forward, move forward instead of doing it all with your lower body. You know, we can kind of get you centered up more like that. And as far as your motion goes, it was really good, so I didn't really change much there. A little bit further away from the golf ball, and just feel a little more flow and give up a little bit of that controlling feeling that you're trying to lean this handle so far forward and hit down in the ground and all these thoughts like that, because the basic structure of it is very good. So a couple adjustments there, and then I want you to practice a few more shots where you're starting to connect with a target instead of worrying about your form so much. So towards the end of the lesson, the chipping time, I put a towel out here, and I wanted you to take your practice swings and practice strokes and looking at the towel and connecting with the target. Then take a look at the target and let it go. So we'll watch this chip here. Very nice motion. And it lands right on the target and rolls out. So this was a pretty good sized right to left break in this chip. And when we started, you were hitting these balls that were landing maybe on the target line or at the hole or even left of it, and not really paying attention to any of the break in the green or your target or your landing area. So next time you go out and practice chipping, take 5 golf balls, find a landing spot, roll a towel out there, and chip to them, and then go putt them. So you're practicing like you're on the course, trying to make up and downs. And I think that'll really help your short game progress from just worrying about form and worrying about not hitting it fat to actually hitting golf shots, because even the best players in the world hit some thin chip shots and a little chunky chip shot once in a while, but the results are usually pretty darn good. They can still knock it up there within 4 or 5 feet and make the putt. So that's much more important to me right now with you around the greens than absolutely perfectly crisp contact time after time after time. Because the way your motion is, it's good enough that if you get a little confidence and a little connection to your target, I think more often than not you're going to hit it solid, and your putting stats will go up because you're chipping it closer to the hole. So that's the basis of our chipping lesson.